Welcome to Warhammer Warscroll Review. In this video, we're taking a look at the Beastclaw Raiders battalion Warscroll, the Braggoth's Beasthammer.
Warscroll Review.
The Braggoth's Beasthammer is one of my personal favorite Warscroll battalions because it mixes factions. While it is a Beastclaw Raiders battalion, it incorporates Ironjaws units as well. The Warscroll consists of a Frostlord on Stonehorn, now named Braggoth Vardruk, 2 units of Mournfang Riders, and 2 units of Gore-Gruntas. I have individual Warscroll reviews for all 3 of these Warscrolls, so be sure to check them out for more details. Frostlords and Stonehorn are extremely powerful melee combatants with a command ability to reroll charge rolls for all Beastclaw Raider units within 14 inches. Mournfang Riders are monstrous cavalry units that start in units of 2. They're fast and deal decent damage in combat. Gore-Gruntas are relatively cheap as they come in units of 3 with 5 wounds. They can take a pounding and still serve their purpose in the battalion. Braggoth is bestowed the first benefit listed on the battalion. It's called a hardy breed. The ability is simple. Add 1 to Braggoth's wound characteristics. Stonehorns are already insanely resilient, so an extra boost to that is nice, but the Stonehorn's ability, Stone Skeleton, makes it doubly as effective. Stone Skeleton has damage dealt to the Stonehorn, so 1 extra wound is effectively 2. The second ability on the Beasthammer is Fierce Rivals, an interesting ability that allows the player to add 1 to hit rolls for Beastclaw Raider units made while within 6 inches of an Ironjaws unit, and vice versa. The Mournfang's problem is their accuracy, so an increase to that is really helpful. Making all their weapons hit on 3s instead of 4s will really increase their potential. Gore-Gruntas aren't that powerful on their own, but with the Pig Iron Choppa, they would be hitting on 2s, which is going to land quite a few times. The biggest benefactor of this ability is likely Braggoth himself. Frostlords and Stonehorn are already one of the more powerful combat models in the game, and making 3 out of their 4 weapons hit on 2s will be absolutely devastating. The final ability on the Beasthammer's Warscroll is Overrunning Stampede. This can be used once per game to allow all the models that charge to pile in and attack a second time. This is done at the end of the combat phase. Don't necessarily wait for that perfect moment to get all the units to charge in the same turn to use this, as that might not happen in time. If the Frostlord and Stonehorn and a Mournfang unit or 2 charged in, and the charge is fairly important, just activate the ability. As long as there are enough Beastclaw models standing after the enemy swings, this will be pretty devastating. Remember the Frostlord hitting on 2s? Yeah, well, he gets to swing again. With the new benefits added to the battalion Warscrolls, the player receives an extra command point in addition to the extra artifact. It's around 1,250 points at minimum size, so the rest of the force really should center around complementing these models well. It's hard to make full use of all the buffs in this battalion, so do the best you can as you are paying for them. I would recommend taking units of 4 or more Mournfangs and just the bare minimum 3 models for the Gore-Gruntas. Keep 1 unit of Gore-Gruntas with the Stonehorn and 1 with the Mournfang unit. The other Mournfang unit can go where it's needed, whether that is with the Stonehorn, other Mournfangs, or maybe on an objective. Gore-Gruntas don't deal that much damage, so it may be better to think of them more as support pieces. The Stonehorn ends up being pretty fast, so the Gore-Gruntas with it may have to forgo a charge anyway due to running to keep up with Braggoth. As they are relatively cheap for the amount of wounds you're getting, they are okay at taking a hit, so keeping them out of combat will keep them alive for a while until it's safe and beneficial to send them in. Otherwise, just pretend they are a unit of support characters with a ton of wounds and an okay offensive ability. With that said, be sure to keep the Gore-Gruntas alive as long as possible, because otherwise you are taking an expensive battalion with expensive mid-tier units. Braggoth's Beasthammer will take up a decent chunk of the army, so it's good to think about what other units synergize well with them, and beyond that, which faction they will work best in. The Beasthammer is a Beastclaw Raiders battalion, so let's start with their allegiance abilities. Really, all of the buffs from the battle traits have a great effect on both Beastclaw Raiders units in the battalion, especially the Stonehorn. As far as command traits go, Famed Hunter could be pretty devastating. The trait allows Braggoth to reroll hit rolls of 1. While this doesn't affect the Stonehorn, it will affect the Frostlord's Frost Spear and his punches and kicks. Making all these weapons hit on 2s with the Beasthammer and then rerolling 1s makes this model extremely accurate. If you did go for Famed Hunter, the Blade of All Frost is a good artifact to pair with the trait. This item allows you to choose a weapon the Frostlord has and add 1 to the damage characteristic. Obviously, this will go on the Frost Spear, making it damage 4 with 4 attacks. On the charge, those attacks are hitting on 2s with rerolls and wounding on 3s with reroll 1s. If Braggoth wounded a monster or hero, it can't activate in the combat phase until all other models have activated. Even better. Another artifact you could choose pairs well with the Stonehorn's durability. The Pelt of Charngar allows you to roll a die at the start of each hero phase. On a 4-up, the model heals D3 wounds. Otherwise, it only heals 1 wound. This is awesome. It makes the extra wound Braggoth has even more potent. Another trait that proves helpful is Massive Bulk. Another way to add an additional wound to the model. In a Destruction Force, Braggoth would still see an influential boost in combat potential. The command trait Might is Right adds 1 to wound rolls. Pretty obvious why this is awesome for our big bad Ogre. Hitting and wounding on 2s. Big and Brutish is another trait that adds 1 to the wound characteristic of Braggoth, giving our big man a grand total of 15 wounds with Stone Skeleton. One of the best ways to take out a Stonehorn is bogging them down with lots of models to ignore the Stone Skeleton rule. The Destruction artifact, Hammerblade, would really screw up one of your opponent's best ways to kill Braggoth. Sacrifice your precious punches and kicks to instead slam the Hammerblade down, dealing a mortal wound to all models within 3 inches on a 5-up. In terms of units, there are a few that help the Beasthammer battalion. The Huskard on Thundertusk would be able to heal the Beastclaw model's D3 wounds. If that was paired with the Pelt of Charngar, Braggoth could potentially heal back 6 wounds in a single turn. Allied into a Beastclaw force, or just included in a Destruction Grand Alliance, the Butcher and Firebelly could offer magical abilities such as Mystic Shield. The Butcher also has a special ability that could bestow a random effect. One effect could heal nearby Ogre units, pumping Braggoth up another wound. Another effect would allow the Ogre units to reroll hit rolls of 1. Great for the Frostlord especially, but the Mournfangs will love this too. Braggoth's Beasthammer does require some finesse and is pretty unforgiving if you can't get multiple charges off in the same turn, or if you lose a Gore-Grunta unit early. With that said, when it works, it can be devastating. To deal with it as an opponent, there are a few things you can do. As just alluded to, kill off the Gore-Gruntas first if possible, and make a third of the battalion's abilities pointless. Try to swamp Braggoth with a horde, and dealing with the rest should not be extremely difficult. The Braggoth's Beasthammer receives a 3 out of 5. It creates a solid foundation to an army, and really helps to get the most out of the Frostlord and Stonehorn. The battalion's weakness is its expense, and the difficulty to really maximize the abilities it provides. What do you think of the Braggoth's Beasthammer? What are you most excited about for the new edition? Let me know your suggestions, questions, and thoughts in the comments below, and thanks for watching.